are back with the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Cali. As always, I'm joined by none other than Dom Loss. We're back for another edition of Betting on the Bills, Week 6. Crazy how fast the year is going. It's just, the Bills are playing the Jets. The Jets have a lot of turnover. No longer Robert Saleh. No more Robert Saleh as their head coach. And their offensive coordinator has switched. Play caller, I should say, has switched. So lots of new going into this Jets matchup for the Bills this weekend. But they're coming off of 2 losses. One, they got curb stomped. The second one was their coaching killed them towards the end. But you move on from it. You look to survive in advance, if you will, if we want to use that expression in week 6. Feels a little early, but at this point, Dom, I guess heading into a matchup against the Jets that basically unraveled throughout the week, what do you, base thoughts before we dive into our specifics here? What do you think?
I think it's a very interesting matchup because I didn't expect Robert Saleh to be fired. I don't think anyone really expected Robert Saleh to be fired. I'm not saying it's not a surprise he got fired mid-season. I'm just surprised they fired him going into this week. I thought maybe they would wait till their bye or whatever. I don't know. I just think that's weird that they just canned him and he was going to work.
First time the Jets have actually canned a head coach mid-season before, right? I want to say.
I want to say yes, but I think Aaron Gase might have got canned mid-season. I'm not too sure, but
maybe.
Yeah, definitely an interesting situation. Definitely changes up some things because the defensive coordinator, Albrecht, is still going to be calling plays, so I don't know how much the defense changes. He has a little bit more on his plate now as being that coach, so maybe that impacts his play calling a little bit. Obviously, they changed play callers from Nate Hackett to Todd Downing, who somehow, after going from the 32nd ranked offensive coordinator, they've gone down to the 33rd ranked offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Todd Downing was terrible in Tennessee after replacing Arthur Smith after he left for Atlanta. So somehow they got, you can make a case that they got worse at offensive play caller, which is just, again, it's just very hard to do with what they had with Nate Hackett. So I think it's definitely going to be intriguing to see what kind of changes Downing puts in that Nate Hackett wasn't doing. But yeah, I don't know. I was kind of shocked that they fired him, to be honest, because I actually really thought the Jets were going to win that game, steal that game against Minnesota. And I don't know. I didn't really feel like. I don't think Robert Saleh is a great head coach. I'm not going to defend him. He has a bad record.
He lost in the game, though.
His defense, his expertise has been one of the. Their defense is one of the best in the league, and it was carrying them in that game. So I don't know. The offense's inconsistency, kind of a little bit like the Billsy, I guess. I don't know, but I don't think this is Ken Dorsey to Joe Brady. So I'm excited to break it down, but it definitely changes the week a little bit. And obviously, playing the Jets on Monday night is going to be a very compelling game because what happened last time they played the Jets on Monday night.
Yeah.
In New Jersey too. Last time they did it, so it'll be fun.
Yep. I went once. We'll never go back again. Essentially, they went from Ken Dorsey to Greg Roman. Is that the way that would work? I don't know. Who's I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to go back. But yeah, the Jets. I was not expecting them to do this, but what are you going to do? The week must go on, which then leaves us to the Jets defense. It's still intact. They still have their same play caller. I know it was Saleh's probably his overall scheme, right? But the Bills offense gotten off to slow starts the past couple weeks. Haven't had the success that they've had against Jacksonville, Arizona, and who's that middle one that was bad? Oh, yeah, the Dolphins. Totally forgot about them. Very forgettable this season. This Jets defense is formidable if it's still run the same way, and they've always given the Bills a problem. It's a divisional opponent, too, on top of it. But I guess, Dom, I'll let you start with this one. What does the Bills offense need to do to really, just pound this team into the ground? Because the Bills defense, I think, has the easier job of stifling the Jets offense, but the Bills offense needs to get over this Jets defense.
Yeah, I think this is a tough game because the Jets have always played Josh really tough. I think they're very elite in pass coverage of DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner. Their linebackers are really good as well. So they really provide a lot of fits. And then the Jets have consistently really dominated the Bills up front, rushing 4. Quinton Williams has always had big games. Jermaine Johnson, obviously he's out. He tore his Achilles, but he's always usually played pretty well against the Bills as well. So, yeah, the Bills have had a real problem with this Jets defense because they like to kind of do what the Bills do, which is rush 4, drop 7, and their back 7's one of the best in football, and their front 4 can usually win. They're a little weaker on the edge now, obviously losing Jermaine Johnson. They had Bryce Huff last year, and they tried to replace him with Hassan Reddick, but he's still not coming around.
Yeah.
But then also with the injuries, right? Like Curtis Samuel, I think is going to play because he practiced yesterday. We still don't know about Khalil Shakir. Obviously, it looks like he's taking steps with the ankle, but who knows if he's going to play. James Cook, not looking great for him, probably has turf toe. That's not looking too hot.
No.
So, I mean, there's a real chance we're without Khalil Shakir and James Cook, who you would probably say were the 2 best offensive weapons going into the year. And then you have kind of, now you have Kincaid, Knox, Keon Coleman, MVS, Hollins, and a banged-up Samuel. And then you have Ty Johnson. This is your moment, Joe. I mean, this is your moment right here.
I mean, speaking of,
if we want to wish for as a kid for moments like
Ty
this.
Johnson. Yeah, if we want to jump right to MVPs, Ty Johnson. Just kidding.
Yeah, and then Davis. So I don't know. It's the offensive line for the Bills is going to have to play. I would say their best game of the year. I mean, they've had good games in the beginning of the year. They haven't played well the last 2 weeks. They need to play well. They need to protect Josh Allen, and do a better job of that because they did not do a good job of that in Houston. He got hit 8 times.
Yeah,
which I believe was a career high. And they're going to have to run the ball effectively. They're going to have to run the ball effectively because the Jets' defense is weaker when you run at them. And you kind of saw, I know no one can really replicate what San Francisco does, but San Francisco is able to run the ball and force a lot of broken tackles. Like, it's not a great tackling team. So the Bills are going to have to run the ball very effectively, and they're going to have to protect Josh Allen because I don't think this I don't know. I don't think this passing team is going to have a lot of success against. If you're lining up what they did in Houston, which is 3rd and long and 2nd and long, having to throw, I think that is where you're going to see a lot of issues for this Bills offense. And I'm very concerned. Even with the head coaching change and how kind of inept the Jets offense has been, like, this is an elite defense still. And if we have injuries to the playmakers with Cook and Shakir, I love Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a great player. Like, I just have a very hard time seeing how the Bills are going to be able to move the ball if their offensive line does not play well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The offensive line does need to step up. You need to see them protecting Josh Allen. Like you said, he got hit 8 times. I mean, that's a high number. Now, it's not a Joe Burrow against the Titans stat, but it's a high one. Don't get me wrong. You saw his jersey last week, totally green almost, and he took unnecessary hits. That's not what you want. You want to keep him healthy, and especially he is your best player on the field at that point. You got to keep him in the game. Mitch Trubisky isn't winning that game for you against that defense. There's no question in my mind. So you got to keep Allen protected. And like you said, you're missing your 2 guys, your security blanket in Khalil Shakir. James Cook has turf toe. That's your number 1 choice on the ground, right? Like, you're going in shorthanded, if you will. These other guys, next man up mentality needs to really prove itself here, and they need to show up ready to play because that's what it's going to take for this offense to work. And you know what? We've said it every damn week. We've said it. Where is Dalton Kincaid? I'm the only one who's saying this, but where is Dawson Knox, right? Where are the tight ends? Get them involved in the passing game. Stop using them to block. Dalton Kincaid cannot block to save his life. Get him out there for a pass, a short pass. Like, use the tight ends, these big-bodied guys, to really tear up a little bit and put some hurt on the Jets secondary, right? I think that's, we're not doing keys or X factors yet, but use those guys. But defensively, the Jets offense, I mean, honestly, it's a divisional game. They're kind of, I guess, due, if you will, if you even say that, for a good game. Aaron Rodgers threw 3 picks last week. He looked like Josh Allen in week 1 last season. He wanted to take the next step, Brett Favre, and play for the Vikings. So he started throwing to people in purple jerseys. But I don't think it's going to be too much of a task for the defense. This is where you want to see, though, these guys still stepping up, right? Dwayne Carter, Smoot still playing, Javon Sol, like all those guys, because Von Miller's still out for 3 more games. And what is the injury looking like? Is Oliver going to play? I think he will, or he might be out, right? Yeah.
He hasn't practiced yet.
He hasn't practiced at all.
It's tough for us because they play Monday night and they have 2 more. They have practice today, and they have practice on Saturday.
Yeah. So it's tough
they
to
have that
actually
extra
gauge
practice
of who's going to play. But I mean, it's safe to say the same guys who were out last week minus a couple are gonna be out. Taron Johnson might, I don't know. So we're gonna have to wait and see on that. But next man up mentality on the defense, just as much. Just make them uncomfortable. Make Aaron Rodgers sweat in the pocket. That's essentially the key. The big key for the Bills defense is get pressure on him. Right? He's not gonna run. He's gonna pop his Achilles if he starts running. He crawled off the field last week. Like, just get pressure on him, put some hits on him. He's gonna be fine.
Chill out with that. Jeez.
No, I'm not rooting for
but
injury.
To your defensive point, they need to be able to get pressure with 4. They were able to do that pretty effective. They had one of their better games in pressure rate last week against Houston. I thought Smoot really came alive. Groot had a pretty nice game. You saw Dwayne Carter kind of pop. You saw Javon Solomon. I think it's more the same for this Bills defensive front, even without Oliver, is they're going to have to be able to stop the run, make the Jets pass, get pressure with 4 with Aaron Rodgers, make him uncomfortable, make him feel you. Also, really important for this Bills team is to tackle. Like, the Jets really do like those short, leak fake, delay routes with Coughlin, the tight end. They like the screen game with Breece Hall. They're going to have to tackle. Obviously, the Bills have not been a very good screen team defending it. So, I mean, they defended one last week successfully somehow, but they need to be able to do that effectively and tackle. And also, the fact is, like, they need to hone in on Garrett Wilson. He's the guy that you need to take away. If you take him away, make Allen Lazard beat you, make Mike Williams just jump ball you to death. I trust our outside corners, Benford and Douglas, to kind of be able to win in those situations and those jump balls. Again, it all comes down to tackling and making Rodgers feel uncomfortable. If the Bills tackle well and Rodgers is antsy in the pocket, I think they're going to have success, defensively. And also, it is big. I think they are going to get Taron Johnson back. It seems he's out of the non-contact jersey, and to get him and Bernard, obviously Bernard now back a week, but to get him kind of getting back in his routine now too, I think is going to be, again, massive for the second level of this defense, because you're not relying on Cam Lewis, who I don't think is again, he's a depth player. It'd be interesting to see Taylor Rapp clear concussion protocol, so maybe they're going to say, they're probably going to put him back there for Bishop, which is what it is. I think Taylor Rapp's their best safety currently on the roster, so I'm not mad about that. I just think Hamlin, again, is a solid depth safety. I just wish we would. I don't know if this is the time to do that against a veteran like Rodgers. When it's really important to have someone back there that you could trust that can, disguise coverages. So again, the defense, it's honestly, to be honest, is very similar to kind of the Jets defense's cues of, hey, make Josh Allen uncomfortable in the pocket, rushing 4. Let's tackle well. Let's make this team have to throw the ball down the field to our back 7 that we trust. It's kind of similar-ish, except I don't think the Bills' safeties are as good. Yeah. But the Bills have 2 good corners too. So I think that is kind of the mindset of this team. It's like, hey, let the complementary pieces of this Jets offense beat you, and if they beat you, they beat you.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to get theirs. The Bills they have to win this game, truthfully. So, I don't know if you're going to pick with them this week. Last week I didn't. I ended up right. You convinced yourself not to. I don't know how you're feeling. We'll get there eventually. But I was
almost I was almost. I think I had like 20-17. I was pretty close, other than the fact of Josh Allen just didn't show up. And if he would have showed up, he would have won. Yeah, I've been right. But it is what it is. I'm not mad about it.
Listen, I said 24-21 Texans. I was a point off on each because it was terrible. But anyway, we're not dwelling on that. What's the X factor going to be for these Buffalo Bills to roll in and ground these New York Jets, if you will? What's your X factor?
I think the massive X factor is going to be these Bills running backs. I think if James Cook does not play, it's now time for Ty Johnson to take a bigger role. It's time for Ray Davis to take a bigger role. And they have to be able to run the ball effectively to have success. And that starts with the offensive line, but also the running back. So I think that's big. I think both those guys have the ability to be good pass catchers out of the backfield. Again, I think that's going to be massive. If you could be able to dunk it down to Ty Johnson and Ray Davis, and they could get 5 to 6 yards a pop and keep the chain, keep on schedule, as Sean McDermott says, I think that is the massive X factor. Because if this offense, again, if it falls behind the chains, it just doesn't have the personnel to have success that way. And it's not, I mean, this is an elite defense, so it's like even a worse week to that. But even against bad defenses, it's really tough to win from 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8 or longer. Like, they're going to have to be able to win on 1st and 2nd down to keep moving the chains. And I think that's a big thing with this Bills rushing attack. They like to run the ball on 1st down. I mean, maybe we see a little less of that, a little more a little more passing on 1st down to kind of get them, on steady. But again, I really think this is a big opportunity for Ray Davis. This is a big opportunity for Ty Johnson. And if the Bills offense is going to put up enough points to win this game, I think it really falls on how well the running backs play. Again, X factor if James Cook doesn't play. If James Cook plays, I think it falls on the offensive line more because, again, pass protection and also setting those holes against a solid front. And that's really where their advantage is for this Bills offense against this Jets defense. So it would fall on him. But if James Cook doesn't play, I think it falls on the complementary running backs, the backups.
I mean, I'm essentially going to echo your point. My X factor is Joe Brady. Truthfully, I think he's going to dial it in this week. I think he's not. He's going to try and get a quick start, right? He's going to try and get this offense starting faster, and that is in the offensive line and allowing the run game to run. I guess allowing the run game to run, if that's the best way to put it. Josh Allen is going to be an integral part in that. He's going to have to make some short throws. Maybe you do get a couple screens in there, but I think, like you said, I think Joe Brady's going to have to scheme in these runs and really just stick to the ground game to pound away at this Jets defense and tire him out a little bit. So Joe Brady's my X factor. I think he's going to improve upon his last 2 weeks play calling and get a lead to start, hopefully. Your MVP of the game, though. MVP of the game at the end of the day, I'm going to die on this hill. I'm absolutely going to die on it. I think Ty Johnson is going to be my MVP by the end of the game. I think he's going to get the primary touches if James Cook doesn't play. Again, if James Cook doesn't play, he's going to get the primary touches, and he's going to be a big difference maker for that team. He's going to be the one, he's going to be leading the rushing attack if Josh Allen doesn't do it himself. So give me Ty Johnson as the MVP of this week. I got to die on the hill. If I'm standing on it, I got to die on it.
Interesting. Yeah, I won't name a specific player. I'll just name kind of a position. I think the D-line is the MVP of the week. I think if they're able to stop the run and make the Jets one-dimensional and get after Rodgers and, again, make him antsy in the pocket, that's where we've seen him kind of he's definitely not 100%, even with the ankle sprain, right? And, again, if he still is going to make some throws that are just like, wow, insane. But if you could hit him and punish him all night long, I think you're going to, kind of accelerate his internal clock a little bit. I think you might see a mistake from him. Obviously, we saw the 3 interceptions last week. Again, if the Bills can just win with their 4, and it's going to be a team effort, right? Because at Oliver, we don't really know. We still have 2 practices left, but he hasn't practiced yet on the hamstring. Like, that's kind of
a worry,
a weird injury. Like, that's kind of like a very high chance that you could re-injure it and then you could be out longer, kind of what happened with Collins. So, yeah, I think the D-line is going to have a big-time day. They were really productive last week in Houston. And then I think they're going to continue and have an MVP performance to help shut down this Jets offense.
I like it. So it's that time. You picking the Bills or you picking the Jets? What do you think? We queued you up a little while ago, so I'll let you go.
Damn.
Do you want me to give mine?
No, I'll say mine. I think if the Bills had James Cook and Khalil Shakir, I'm all Bills, right? I just think without those two players, like, I just think it's going to be really hard for them to move the ball. They don't have easy ways to move the ball. Unless they just unleash Josh Allen and say, hey, we're going to do like 4 or 5 design Josh Allen runs. But they've kind of refused to do that because one was early in the season and he injured his hand, right? Those are the 2 reasons why I think they haven't done that. And if they don't do that, again, I just have a very hard time seeing how they're going to be able to move the ball against this Jets defense. And I think the Bills defense are going to have their way with the Jets offense as well. But I think the Jets have, I don't know, the Jets play calling is so dog that I feel like crappy thinking that they could even move the ball. But I feel like they have Garrett Wilson, they have Breece Hall, like they have dudes on their offense that the Bills simply just, not like they would have if they were healthy, but even with the injuries, I think that the skill position gap is so big. I think this is going to be a defensive battle, but I do have the Jets taking it 17-13. I just don't. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't kind of see how, in a realistic point of view, like if Khalil Shakir again, a lot could change from here now. Like if Khalil Shakir plays, like I probably change my prediction, to be honest. I'm not, because I think him being out there helps their passing attack enough where I think they could score enough points to win. But if he's not out there, you don't have James, the unknown, the backup. I got to see it first before I really believe it, and how much the offensive line has struggled the last 2 weeks. It's just hard. I'm sorry, and they're probably going to win, but it's hard for me after seeing this Bills offense against Baltimore and Houston, which are nice defenses, and I think the Jets are a better defense than those two, right? And while I think the Jets offense is bad, and the Bills defense I think are going to have their way, like I think they're in a position right now where they're in a position to score just enough points to win more likely than the Bills are. I'm sorry to say that, but
yeah, I mean, it's going to be a close, low-scoring game, I think. It's going to be more defensive than anything. I think the Bills, just out of necessity of winning a game, not going 500, I think they have just enough to maybe win by a field goal. Give me the Bills. I don't even know how high I even want to do this, truthfully, because I think it is going to just be
21-14.
No, that is my favorite stat line. You know that. No, I'll do 17-14 Bills. I'll do 17-14 Bills. I think it's going to be a field goal, but I think they're going to win this one.
At the buzzer?
No, I said at the buzzer last week, but unfortunately the field goal was in the. Oh no, I was totally right last week, but no, at the
just the wrong team.
Yeah, just the wrong team. No. I picked the Texans last week. The Texans at the
buzzer. Shit, you did.
Yeah. So I was almost 100% correct, just minus the 1 point on each side. But no, I think the Bills, it's not a buzzer beater by any means. I think it's just they go up in the fourth and then their defense just stops the offense, the Jets offense. But what a pig game. What a pig game. I'm not even excited for this. I am, but I am not, because it's prime time.
I think it's going to be really ugly.
Yeah, it's just not going to be a good-looking football game with a lot of big plays, I think. People will get theirs, like you said, like I said, but I don't think it's going to be a masterclass of football by any means, I just think it's going to be whatever. But no, we'll debrief on Tuesday as we usually do. You'll hear it on Wednesday, and we'll have fresh emotions because it's a Monday night game. There isn't a day in between, so we'll be able to fill you all in about it. But before we head out and close this one out, we wanted to give an update on our Dynasty Fantasy Football League. The waivers got a little crazy this week. Okay, Tank Bigsby, excuse me, had a great week last week. The Saints not playing Derek Carr because he's injured. He injured his oblique. Lots of movement on the waiver wire this week around the Dynasty League. Dom, why don't you lay down what your plan was, I guess, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, my failed plan. Thanks, Joe. No, but it's just a situation where we do rolling waivers, so it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than your normal waiver wire. So, how to make this? It's in maybe a ESPN league or whatever. Whoever is last place gets the number one waiver, regardless of if they picked up a guy last week or not. So if you're in your last place in your league, you're always going to be, if you pick up a guy, you're going to get him. In our league, in the Dynasty League, it's a rolling waiver. And what that means is if you pick someone off waivers, you go to the back of the pack. And it doesn't reset every week. So usually you have to if you do it, you have to wait a week or two to kind of get back into being in position to get players off the waivers because you need people in front of you to pick people up. So what happened was I was fourth in the waivers. And Joe was second. And I had good knowledge that Tank Bigsby was on the waivers. There was a lot of good players on the waivers this week. I mean, Wardell Robinson was on the waiver wire. Juju was on the waiver wire.
Yeah, Smith-Schuster after his performance last week.
The Giants, Tracy was on the waiver. There was a couple. Rico Dotto was on. There's a couple good you could get some death pieces on the waiver wire this week. And I had good knowledge that the first and the third waiver were not picking anyone up this week. So the only person that could pick up Tank Bigsby instead of me was Joe. Well, as everyone knows, we record our podcasts on Tuesday, the night before the waivers. And Joe goes, I think I made it a statement hey, waiver day or whatever. So I wanted to see some information. And Joe goes, yeah, I can't believe you're not going to believe the guy I'm going to pick up off waivers. And I was just kind of oh, Joe, who's you're going to pick up off waivers? Mm-hmm. And he goes, so Derek Carr's out. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to say someone random. And he goes, Taysom Hill. And I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. The first guy is not going to pick anyone else. Joe's going to pick up Taysom Hill in the second spot. The third player is not picking up anyone, and I'm going to get Tank Bigsby. So I'm like, okay, I go to bed. I feel really good. I wake up the next morning, and I skim the waivers. And I just assumed that I got Tank Bigsby because I saw that he got picked up.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe and I happened to be playing each other. And I was looking at our matchup, whatever. I was looking at our benches, and I was like, that's funny. Tank Bigsby's on Joe's bench, not my bench. And then that proceeded me to look at the waiver more clearly and see that Joe put Tank Bigsby in and then Taysom Hill. And so that was a rough moment for the boys. And I happened to play Joe this week. Not looking great for me. Tough week for me with injuries and people on bye. I think I'm an 11-point underdog going into the weekend, but
yeah, we'll see if that actually holds up. Prediction.
I don't know. Do you have anything to not defend yourself, but add to the story? I think that was pretty good.
There was a clear reason I went with Taysom Hill out the gate. I was not letting anybody know what I was really doing with the number 2 the first time around. Taysom Hill, the only reason I actually ended up picking him up is because they use him in the run game and Kamara, and they could disguise him, do some fun things with him. And if he does throw a couple passes, he's in a tight end spot. He's like a super flex spot. So I was like, why? What would that hurt? Have him on my bench? Nothing. So I did need a running back who could be a flex spot as these bye weeks roll around. And Tank Bigsby had a great week, and possibly he earned more touches after last week too. So he's going to be a bigger part of that offense, that struggling Jacksonville offense. He was a bright spot. So just decided to take a run at Bigsby, and I knew no one was going to take Taysom Hill, so I just grabbed him. I put him on the number 2. So so I kept it quiet, kept it under wraps. But that's the fun of the waiver wire, I guess, in Dynasty. And who knows, if he's pooping himself in a couple of weeks, he might be off the team, and then Dom can grab him or try again on waivers. Who knows? But who'd you end up grabbing? I forget.
Who did I end up grabbing?
Did you have a secondary pick, or did you only have Bigsby?
So I had a waiver open because I'm processing a trade where I'm trading for someone without trading a player. But I needed a defense, so I had picked up the defense that I wanted. I can't remember what I picked. I think I might have picked up Pittsburgh. No, I don't remember what I picked up. I picked up a good defense this week, though.
Oh, okay.
And then I did actually end up picking. Someone picked up Juju and then dropped Juju, so then I just picked up Juju. Well, I think I had to drop Juju because I think then my trade is going through today in the league, and I'm trying to trade another player to free up the roster spot, but I don't know if the other partner is going to accept my trade. So
yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one for the next update.
I know.
But that's going to do it for this edition of the Buffalonian Podcast, Betting on the Bills. Week 6. It's moving fast, people. We'll have every week, even including playoffs, we'll have Betting on the Bills for you. So stay tuned. Hope you're enjoying these, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday to debrief whatever the outcome is. Dom, how do we always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.